Hey everyone, RC Butts, and I just thought I'd show you guys here how to set up a Spektrum DX7 radio on an Align helicopter. Most of this will be applicable to pretty much any helicopter you want to set up. Some different configurations you'll encounter. This is, the basic setup that's going on right now. First thing you want to do inside your radio, you're going to want to select a new model. How do you do that? What you need to do is put your fingers on the scroll down and select button at the same time when you turn it on. See how it says access? These two can together. Hold this down and then turn it on. And then this will get you into this menu where you can select different models. See, I've got all my models on here. I want to find something new. Okay, model 10, helicopter. That's what you want to go for. It's going to be a new model, model 10, helicopter. You're going to want to scroll down. What is the setup? This setup is a 3 servo, 120 degree setup. So 1, 2, 3. We got 2 here for aileron. The one back here is the elevator servo. So we select 3 servos, 120 degrees. That's the setup that we've got going here. So we scroll down. Aux 2, if you're going to be doing something with a 7th channel that you might have. I don't have it. This is just a 6th channel. So I go to gear. I want to change gear to gyro because we're going to use the gear channel on the Spektrum receiver as our gyro gain. So you go down, throttle recovery, trainer mode. I'm going to not do anything with those right now. Helicopter. Here you can name the model, like whatever you want to name it. Let's see, mine's a T-Rex, so I'm just going to call it, just to not take a lot of time, I'm going to call it T. So we've got model 10, it's called T, it's a helicopter, 3 servos, 120 degrees, gear set to gyro, inhibit on all these things. And then what you can do, you can get out of here by pressing these 2 buttons again to go to the main menu, or you can just turn it off and turn it back on. So this gets you into the standard mode. You're on here. Everything's blank, default, whatever the case is. Next thing you want to do is bind your helicopter to your transceiver. How are we going to do that? What comes with the receiver usually is a bind plug. This plug is so that you can bind the receiver to the transmitter. You want to put the bind plug into the battery port. Here's the setup for what we're going to be doing with the different ports on the receiver. We've got aux 1 and aileron here. You can use the right or left aileron, but for me, I usually put whatever the right servo is. The servo here on the right side. I usually plug that one into the aileron channel and plug the left one into the aux 1 channel. So that's great. I do left aileron and aux 1. You're going to have a gyro, and in the gear channel, you're going to have the gyro will have 2 wires that come out of it and 1 wire that goes into it. The wire that goes into it is going to be from your tail servo, and the 2 wires that come out of it, one will be a gyro gain and one will be a gyro rudder. Usually the gain has just 1 channel on it and the rudder has all 3, or sometimes you'll find that the gyro gain is like a different color, like red or yellow, and the gyro rudder is black. If you ever have any questions, be sure to refer to the instruction manual of whatever your gyro is. elevator servo plugged into the elevator channel. Aileron, already went over that. Throttle is where we plug in the ESC. Once we, if we're using an ESC, and the battery on this 250 is going to be left blank. Right now I've got the bind plug in there, but if you've got a bigger one and you want to use an external BEC or just an external battery to power up your receiver, that's where you plug it in, is the battery channel. If you have a 7-channel transmitter, you'll have an aux 2 that you can assign to a switch, but I'm not going to be doing that here. So, since you have the bind plug in there, what you want to do is plug it in so you get the power. Okay, and then you're going to see the receiver blinking. See the blinking there? That means that it's ready to bind. It's all set up in bind mode. So what you want to do on the back, you've got your model selected. There's this little button here. Hold this button down. So what you do is you hold that button down and you want to turn it on to bind. But what you want to be sure you do, have your throttle stick all the way down, because whatever your throttle sticks are at right now, this is the default position. So make sure you're in normal mode and your throttle stick is all the way down, left stick for mode 2. And you've got the back button pressed and you turn it on. And as you turn it on, the blinking is going to slow down, and then you let go of the switch, see, and the light goes solid. So that means it's bound. First thing you want to do now is unplug the receiver, and then you turn off the transmitter. Then you want to remove the bind plug. Get the bind plug out, they're bound together, and you're all set. You test it out. You should turn on the transmitter first. It's always transmitter first, and then the receiver. If you plug in the receiver by itself, it will go into that default condition, whatever the sticks were at when you bound it. So, if you accidentally plug in the receiver and you bound it correctly, then you should be okay. But safety is always the most important thing. Plug this in. It's bound up. Alright. Okay, when you're getting ready to put the servo horns on your cyclic servos, or any of your servos, even your tail, when you're making your selection, what you want to do, this is the 250, so it's a little strange how these are lined up, but you can see how they're just parallel to say a flat spot, parallel to the swash plate basically is what they're going to be. In most configurations you'll have like a nice flat servo, and you'll be able to line it up 90 degrees with the servo this way or this way. But in making your selection for the horns, you're going to have a couple of them, and you want to try every selection you can to try to get it as straight as you can just by plugging it in. When you have the transmitter set up here at 50-50, you want to make sure that it's flat when you're here at 50 in and 50 out. And any of your curves will show you where you're at for your stick. And that shows you that you're exactly at half throttle and zero pitch. Make your selection. Say you've got 3 servo horns, try all 3 of them, try to get it as perfect. Try to get the next one as perfect as possible. Try to get this one as perfect as possible. It takes a couple tries, you have to flip them over, but it lets you avoid using sub-trim, as much sub-trim as possible. But say you go through, one is just about perfect, the other one's perfect, and then you're left with one more servo horn to put on the last one, and you just can't line it up right in any way. You might have to add a little bit of sub trim. So in order to get to the sub trim on the transmitter, you go down to, go through your menus, and you see sub trim here. And each one of these controls a different channel that you have going. So we're going to look at the aileron, the one plugged into the aileron port. So arrows here on the aileron, you can scroll through them by pressing select. Do the pitch every channel you've got in there. As you add and subtract sub trim, it will slowly adjust your servo. See? Just a couple clicks one way, or a couple clicks the other way, and you can make it perfect. That's how you line up the servo. You want to try to get as little sub trim as possible. Now, usually, if you have to go above, like 40 or 50, then you could probably change the direction on the servo where it's at and go another direction. But you want to try to add as little sub trim to as few channels as possible. That's just rule of thumb you want to go with.